Hello and welcome back to our series so-called Humans of HR. And the last few weeks we received a few requests directly to our mail and some in the comments as well, where HR professionals are talking about the kind of experiences that they've had when they started their journey, maybe 10, 15 years back, and compare that with the kind of experiences that people are reporting when they join their team as freshers. And the bigger question that came to the fore was the fact that the new hires, the Gen Zs or millennials, whatever we call them, I'm not going to bucket any of them. I'm just going to be talking about the subtle changes that we are coming across when we are dealing with the latest demographics. People who join the organization today versus people who joined the workforce maybe decade and a half, 2 decades back, the kind of differences that are there, and maybe in the future sessions we'll also explore into how do we handle that better. Now, one very common aspect that comes when you talk to seasoned HR professionals about fresher hire and new hire today is they say that the new hires don't have the kind of patience that is actually expected from people in that role. They want everything to be fast. Now, if you look at data, it's said that millennials were expecting promotions in around 7 to 9 months of joining work, and I think in the Indian context, the millennials, I'm not looking at people born in the early 80s. I think it would come more towards people who were born in the early and mid 90s are the ones who would come into the millennials grouping, because it is to do with the size of the family, it is to do with the disposable income. So the term that was defined in the West and that phase happened in India much later. So I think we'll have to Indianize the context to a certain extent before we use that term. So millennials, as I said, were expecting promotions in the 7th or the 9th month of joining a job, which in the generation before was unheard of. And I have all the reasons to believe, we have all the reasons to believe that with Gen Zs, it's going to be shorter. Now, I think a lot of this stems from the fact that the immediate gratification that we are so used to, okay? And especially when we're talking about the new joinees, they could be born in an era where immediate gratification was a norm. Like, for example, the example that I always give is when I was a kid, irrespective of whether you are the chief minister's son or somebody like me or the richest industrialist's son, if you want to watch Mahabharata or the Ramayana, you would have to sit in front of the TV between 9 and 9:30 on a Sunday. You miss that, the next window is the next Sunday. You have to wait it out for a week. You just can't binge watch anything. But now with the current generation, the reality that you can actually binge watch something that you like, the immediate gratification kind of happens. And Simon Sinek very beautifully says that there was a time when wooing somebody was something that was a function of time, effort. There would be people who would write letters and wait for months together for getting a response. And today, if you look at the apps, one swipe left, one swipe right, and then it happens. So the time is much shorter for a lot of things that otherwise we actually had to wait for quite some time. So I think that to a certain extent explains the speed and the patience, the level of patience. I think immediate gratification is something that is a reality for the current generation. So we'll have to plan that. We'll have to work around that effectively. Next aspect of new hires is the fact that the amount of questions that they throw directly to the senior most in the organization, which was erstwhile unheard of, is again another aspect that people very often raise. Now, If you look at, I believe all behavior stems from the kind of experiences we've had in the past. Like I was born in a household where I had two sisters, so um, competition was real, right? If I want a preferential treatment from my mom, I will have to outdo my sisters in terms of good behavior or good deeds, and that's when I actually get the preferential treatment. So the competition was real. Now, if 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 they were not there in the picture, if I didn't have sisters, I was the only child, I think my mindset would have been slightly different for sure, because everything that I can see is actually mine. I mean, who else do I need to compete with to gain access to that? And that seems to have become a very obvious reality. The rise in nuclear families in the last decade and a half too, you will see that there are a lot more nuclear families, single child families, and when they join the workforce, um, you will realize that it's that aspect that many a time comes into the picture. So which is why the ease in talking to anybody. I recently got to know that in my apartment there is a teenager who consistently refers to her dad as bro. And when he was said, Harish, I don't know, I mean, she called me the other day and said, bro, I'm broke. And he was like, I don't know how to respond to it. When does this happen? Because honestly, you are the only three people in the house. I mean, you don't want to have distance, so the dynamics obviously changes, right? So again, let me call it out very clearly. It's not blaming anybody. It's the situation, it's the environment that makes people look at things a certain way, and that translates into behavior. So if we have to deal with the behavior, we need to understand the mindset, and the background of the environment that triggers this mindset is also something that we need to understand slightly better. And the third one is work hours. I mean, the whole idea of logging in, logging out in a very structured, formatted manner is also something that the new joinees, the latest generation, seems to be resisting a lot. And if you look at the reason, I think I was going through the kind of changes schooling seems to have gone through. And schools have a lot of projects, project based marks, project based grading. And the fun about project is the fact that you don't have to sit right in front of the teacher and do it. You can actually do it at your own pace. You could actually come together as a bunch of friends on a Sunday evening and then work on it and get it done. And that, if you look at it, surely creates the kind of luxury of managing things in your own pace versus a generation back. The schooling was the assessment was common for everybody. Those 3 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour when people actually sit together and take the test is how you assess a student. There was no other benchmark to assess the students. So there has been an increase in the format of you can do it in your own pace, and when they are expected to do things day in day out, um, are they considering this as an extension of I should be able to do it at my own pace, because what should bother you the most has to be the output. I think that also stems from there, so it's important that we understand that context. And and the fourth aspect and the final aspect that I want to discuss right here is the loyalty, and the loyalty aspect is being questioned a lot, because people seem to be throwing in their papers at the drop of a hat, and that seems to be a huge concern. So how do we work around that? Now let's try and understand where could this stem from. um, I still remember, I mean, when I graduated, I was very clear I wanted to pick up a job, while some of my friends, they were preparing for studying overseas. um, and I was the majority, as in the sense a lot of my batchmates were looking at picking up a job, and some of them were looking at going overseas. Now, the way we express our alignment with the organization, not the job. Job is to do with skill. Our alignment with the organization usually stems from the reality that we are dealing with. Okay, let me explain this a little more. The reality that I'm dealing with in terms of the economic pressure that I'm living in, the peer pressure, the social pressure, or social reality impacts the way I look at the organization. Okay, the market is really bad, and I'm the sole breadwinner. I have dependent parents. I'm married. Maybe I have a child. The way I will look at the organization will be very different compared to when the market is really good. Okay, and I don't have any dependence on me, right? So now, if you look at a couple of generations back, a lot of senior citizens never had any kind of insurance. Because in India, the belief is your future, your child is your future. Okay, your child is your future in terms of all the basic requirements. It could be insurance, it could be healthcare, it could be all the basics that you're talking about. Now, what has happened in the previous generation is now because of increased disposable income and education levels, people have slightly started to plan their finances really well. So I come across a lot of people whose kids have started the workforce say that you just take care of yourself. I'm covered. My roti kapda makan is covered. My health is covered. I can take care of myself. You take care of yourself. You take responsibility and find your way through things. Now, when this is the reality, when I don't have any dependence, this is my first job or the second job, my parents are capable of taking care of themselves. I don't have that burden. In fact, in case if I need, they could surely fund my lifestyle for a few months if I'm between jobs. And then when I come to a workplace, I think there is a stronger reason for people to be more aligned with the job, with the task, the skill, rather than the organization. Because if I feel that I'm not very comfortable in this organization or in this space, I could always check out, and in the interim I always have the support and look for someplace else. So that is also a reality that we need to deal with. So in this short video, what I was trying to explore was the behavior that we see, what is the mentality from which that stems, and the mentality that we are dealing with is a result of the environment and the realities that they have grown up through. Now, unless and until we are able to understand this entire structure, it becomes extremely difficult for us to deal with and align them with the needs of the organization. So that's the video, folks. These are the four major factors that I come across HR professionals raising when they talk about fresh hires. First is the speed at which the new generation wants things to move. Second is their relationship with authority. Third is the flexibility work hours and how they process it. And the fourth one is the loyalty factor. So what do you think? Please do share in the comments below. This will be a very interesting conversation going forward, because we will also be focusing on how do we take care of the interests of the organization while keeping in mind the reality with which people join us. So please do comment, like, and subscribe the channel so that we are able to reach a lot more people from the same fraternity. See you in the next video. Thank you.